All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a small English-speaking nation on the coast of South America that has almost overnight become one of the most important places on the entire planet. This, my friends, is the story of Guyana. So what are you looking at right here? Well, that's Guyana's GDP growth in 2024, 43.6%. No, that is not a typo. I had to double check it myself. It's the kind of insane economic explosion that just completely rewrites the rulebook, making Guyana the fastest growing economy in the world. And honestly, it's not even close. But here's the thing. Behind that absolutely mind-blowing number is a massive paradox. It's really a story of two different countries rolled into one. On one hand, you've got this nation being totally reborn by unimaginable oil wealth. But on the other hand, it's a country that's teetering on the brink of political chaos and facing a threat that could wipe it off the map. It's a tale of two Guyanas, and it's all happening right now. Okay, so first things first, let's really try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this transformation. I mean, how did this even happen? The whole story kicks off offshore, in this gigantic oil basin that has turned what was, let's be honest, a pretty stagnant economy into a global energy heavyweight in less than 10 years. Check this out. By late 2025, Guyana was pumping out 900,000 barrels of oil every single day. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the speed of this ramp-up, it's just completely unprecedented in the modern history of oil. Nobody's ever done it this fast. The speed is, well, it's just staggering. And what's truly wild is that all of this oil, it's coming from just one single offshore area called the Stabroek Block. I mean, look at this table. It shows you the insane speed they're deploying these massive floating production vessels. We call them FPSOs. They're basically giant factories floating on the ocean. You've got 4 of them already up and running, with 2 more on the way that are going to push production past 1.3 million barrels a day. The pace is just relentless. But, you know, a fire hose of cash like this always brings intense scrutiny. And this quote right here, it gets to the heart of a huge public concern: transparency. See, in 2025, a report got leaked, and it revealed that 3 brand new oil discoveries have been made, but were never announced to the public. This, as you can imagine, has fueled accusations of an incestuous relationship, that the government and the oil companies are getting a little too close, maybe even hiding critical info from the very people who own these assets. So the big question is, where is all this money actually going? Well, you don't have to look far. You can literally see it rising out of the ground. All that oil wealth is being funneled directly into a massive nationwide infrastructure build-out, and it's physically changing the country at a speed that is just breathtaking. And we're not talking about small stuff here. We are talking about massive nation-building projects. For example, there's the gas-to-energy project. This thing is a total game changer, promising to slash the country's crazy high electricity costs by 50%. Then you've got a new highway being cut right through the jungle to connect Guyana to its giant neighbor Brazil. And, of course, there's a hotel boom. Big names like Hilton and Marriott are rushing in to build rooms for all the global business flooding the country. This here is a perfect example of the change. It's a tale of 2 bridges. On the left, you see the old way, a creaky floating bridge that was basically a bottleneck, a symbol of stagnation. On the right, the new way, a modern, high-capacity bridge that unlocks the whole region. But the really clever part, the part that shows you how they're thinking, is this. The government made this new bridge and every other bridge in the country completely toll-free. That is a direct, tangible transfer of oil money right into the pockets of regular people. So, I mean, it all sounds like a perfect success story, doesn't it? A dream come true. But this is exactly where our story takes a very sharp, very dramatic turn. Because while that economic engine is firing on all cylinders, the country's political and security foundations, well, they're starting to crack, big time. Let's start with that first crack, the political system itself. You see, for about 50 years, politics in Guyana was pretty predictable. It was basically a 2-party system, mostly split along ethnic lines. But then the 2025 general election happened, and it just blew that whole reality to pieces. It changed everything. Just take a look at these results. Yeah, the incumbent party, the PPP/C, they managed to win another term. But that's not the real story here. The real story is the absolute collapse of the traditional opposition party, the APNU. And who replaced them? Seemingly out of nowhere, this brand new populist party called WIWEN, led by a very controversial business tycoon named Azraddin Mohammed. And this chart, it just hammers home the scale of this political earthquake. The WIN party literally came from nothing to grabbing 16 seats in parliament, becoming the official opposition. They completely redrew the political map of Guyana. Some people started calling it the dawn of a new era, the era of petropopulism. And then it just descended into chaos. I mean, just weeks after this stunning victory, the brand new leader of the opposition, Azraddin Mohammed, is arrested. Why? A formal extradition request from the United States. Turns out he'd already been sanctioned by the US and was now wanted on charges of massive corruption, money laundering, and bribery. Just like that, Guyana was thrown headfirst into a constitutional crisis that nobody had ever seen before. So, as if a completely shattered political system wasn't bad enough, at the exact same time, an old enemy shows up at the door. While the country was being torn apart from the inside, it started facing this escalating existential threat from its neighbor to the west, Venezuela. Okay, so what's this all about? At the heart of it is a region called the Essequibo. It's this century-old border dispute, but it's roaring back to life for one simple reason. Venezuela claims 2/3 of Guyana's land. And here's the kicker. That claim includes the very same offshore waters where all of this incredible oil wealth has been found. And in 2025, this whole thing stopped being just a diplomatic argument on paper. It became a real hot conflict. First, a Venezuelan naval vessel got way too close to a Guyanese oil facility, trying to intimidate them. And then came a really serious escalation. Guyanese soldiers were attacked 3 times in 24 hours by what everyone believes are Venezuelan-backed proxy forces. This is classic hybrid warfare, testing your enemy, pushing the boundaries, trying to assert control without actually declaring a full-scale war. So this begs the question, how does a country with a tiny military defend itself against a much larger, much more aggressive neighbor? Well, the answer is you don't go it alone. Guyana's strategy has 2 parts. First, you fight it out legally in the world's highest court. But second, and maybe more importantly, you lean hard on your powerful friends, namely the United States and Brazil. Both of them have really stepped up, providing military cooperation and diplomatic muscle to act as a kind of security guarantee. And all of this brings us right back to where we started, to that central paradox of modern Guyana. You have this nation living through a once-in-a-lifetime economic miracle, while at the exact same time it's facing these profound, even fatal threats, both from the inside and from the outside. When you boil it all down, Guyana's entire future really depends on whether it can navigate 3 huge challenges. First, political fragility. Can your democracy even function when the leader of the opposition is facing extradition? Second, geopolitical risk. How do you stop a powerful neighbor who desperately wants your oil? And finally, institutional capacity. Can you build the systems to manage all this wealth without falling into the trap of corruption, the resource curse that's destroyed so many other nations? So, which is it going to be? An oil miracle or a resource curse? The 2 paths are laid out, clear as day. And for this small nation, standing at a true crossroads of history, the final outcome is anything but certain. Its future is being written right now.